Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for the acknowledgement. Now I'd like to request our resource person, Major General.
And the final answer to all disasters is not trained responders, not people coming from outside. It is our integral community-based response. I'm very happy to note that Nagaland has made great strides in community-based response, but we can never do enough in this aspect. So community awareness, community-based response, empowering it, integrating various volunteers. We have a representative from NCC over here. All these organizations in your community-based response is extremely important, and I'm sure you will continue to give it the importance it deserves. Finally, before I conclude, I would again like to stress on all of us present here the importance of our roles. You know, if you are managing land or if you are looking at finances or any other such role, if there is a little bit of shortcoming in your functioning, the cost is, you know, in terms of a few resources, some delays, administrative, etc. But if we as disaster managers do not do our job properly, we are going to pay the cost in lives. We are going to pay the cost in terms of livelihoods of our people. So please keep that in mind when you undertake your roles and when you train for your roles. With that, I once again compliment the NSDMA for organizing this event and wish you the very best and happy outcomes and learning over the next 2 days. Thank you very much.
We hope that in the days to come, when our data are improving it, we will be able to tell that in the road sector, because of our negligence, how much of economic loss is incurring every year by the event of disasters. In the agriculture sector, because of our negligence, how much of economic loss has incurred every year by the event of disasters. So likewise, in every sector, we would be able to bring forth in the days to come when our data are improving it. This is one of its kind that the Economic Statistics, in collaborations with the Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority, is able to bring out, to tell to all the policymakers and all the government machineries that what we are doing, why we are doing, how we are doing, should be linked to disaster risk reductions in order to bring in that sustainable development goals that we all look for.
I, on behalf of the Department of Economics and Statistics, would like to invite our respected Chief Secretary, Sri J. Anand, to release the first report on Nagaland Disaster Statistics 2023, produced by the Department of Economics and Statistics.
Disaster is something for which we always need to be prepared. Some disasters can be predicted, some disasters cannot be predicted. Some disasters can be predicted very well in advance. Some disasters they can be predicted but with a shorter forecasting period. And some disasters can just land on you. So, keeping prepared for all kinds of disasters is something that is an ideal situation. We keep training for it and we keep doing a lot of exercises. In the heart of my heart, I feel that we are really happy to keep doing the exercises, and we just hope and pray that the real disaster never strikes us. There are people who might be preparing for their whole career but not face a disaster. So that is, I would say, is a happy situation. But then, as I said, it cannot be predicted, and that is why we need to be always prepared for it. The Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority has been in the forefront of keeping our preparedness levels very high. Nagaland is one of the few states in the country which actually does a lot of mock exercises and preparedness exercises, capacity building, because we realize that Nagaland is in a disaster-prone zone, and that is where its importance is not lost on anyone. Now, how we keep prepared for it? You see, we are saying that since 2016, we have been doing this exercise, Nagaland Emergency Preparedness Exercise. And a certain amount of standardization has come in that exercise. I am sure many of you might be doing these exercises in the past also. But in the government, you see, people keep changing. So you are here as maybe in your department you are an old officer because you are holding a particular position. But you get transferred, some people retire, some people go out like that. So every time some new people join, and that is why it is necessary that the exercises are taken with utmost seriousness and with utmost preparations. The closer we are to simulating the actual disaster, the better our preparedness is. That is one part. The other part I feel is that the role clarity, which our General Bahal also alluded to, the role clarity is very important. NSDMA has come out with this booklet, Incident Response System Guidelines. I am sure everybody must be having it. So this is the booklet which provides for roles of different authorities. Now everybody has to read it seriously, understand their own roles, and if there are any doubts or lack of clarity, it has to be got clarified. Because ultimately, when a disaster strikes, it is this booklet which is going to help us. So I think the NSDMA has done a very good job in compiling these guidelines, and very clearly the hierarchical structures and the roles and responsibilities of various authorities have been documented here. So I would request everyone to go through it and read about your own roles and responsibilities and be prepared. The other issue that has just been highlighted is about having close liaison with the armed forces. We are actually happy that we do have a good presence of the armed forces in the state. They have always been helping us in many situations, and we have a very close coordination and liaison with all the central armed forces, the Assam Rifles, Army, the CRPF, and many other forces. We have a unit of NDRF also now stationed in Nagaland. So that way this presence is there. All these forces, they have that institutional capacity, institutional knowledge and expertise to deal with any kind of situation. And that way it's a matter of great comfort for us that they are there to help us out in case a disaster strikes us.
This press conference is as a precursor to the Nagaland emergency preparedness exercise, a statewide mega mock exercise that we are going to conduct on the 2nd of November. This is the 6th NAPEX that NSDMA, along with the DDMAs, all the line departments, government missionaries, and the local communities, NGOs. This is the 6th time that we are organizing. This year, we have the lead resource person in the person of Major General Bhag, who has come from the NDMA to coordinate and supervise the entire statewide mock exercise. This year we will be simulating the event of earthquake. And we are looking at 16 districts participating in. Therefore, almost all the government missionaries, all the line departments at the state level and the district level will be participating in. We will be also being the community first responder, we call it, and in the national term it is called Adamitra, the community volunteers whom we have trained them for the disaster search and rescue operations. They will be also participating in it. We also have school children who will be participating in it. Now whenever we bring the school children, NSDMA has an objective, that is, involving the school is we are creating safer generation next. That is our tagline and the motto that we always carry whenever we go for a school program. We will be also the village disaster management authorities. Some of the village disaster management authorities will be also participating in during this NAPEX. This month, the 13th of October is the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. Therefore, this year, we thought that in order to commemorate the International Day on Disaster Risk Reduction, we have called upon the Village Disaster Management Authorities conclave. We had it on the 13th of this month, October, in Kohima. So we have also explained to them the roles and responsibilities at the community, at the village level. Nagaland is the only state who have notified the village disaster management authorities. Some of the villages have yet to constitute. We are in the process because with the change of the village council, there is transition period there. Those old ones have dissolved and the new ones formation is still in the process again. So the Nagaland emergency preparedness exercise involves almost everyone in the state. So we will be simulating the earthquake 7.1 magnitude earthquake. Now I would like 7.1 magnitude earthquake. Now the idea is the Shillong earthquake, which is one of the most well-documented earthquake event in the world, I would say. That magnitude. During that period of time, in the context of Nagaland, our population is very few. We do not have the type of building that we have today. But if that similar event happened today, what will be the extent of damage? The extent of casualties to life and properties. So that's how we are trying to look at it. The importance of simulating this event is, earthquake is one that we cannot really predict till to this very day. And it is important that when earthquake hits, I think on 11th September 2023 this year, Morocco has been badly affected by earthquake. Now, looking at those pictures and videos which was captured during the event, unfortunately, if such event happens here in the context of Kohima, we would really imagine how and what will be the chaos that we will be facing. So those are the preparatory activities that we are simulating through this NAPEX. Thank you to all our press friends who are here to cover this event. We also like to request you that on the 2nd of November, not only here, but we would like to also cover in the districts and also at the state capital. And if there is any other further information that you would like to get in regard to the NAPEX 2023, we have our media officer, Madam Karen. Please can you stay in touch with her, and we will be always happy to connect with you. I would like to also request our Major General Bhal, the lead resource person for NAPEX 2023, to also say on how we are going to simulate the earthquake and what will be the sequence of events that is going to unfold from today, tomorrow, and on the 2nd. So.
Well, this year's NAPEX is based on earthquake scenario, as mentioned by Mr. Johnny. And in that context, we must realize that earthquakes cannot be predicted. And therefore, the only way to reduce losses and damage is by preparedness. And that is the importance of this NAPEX. We are simulating an earthquake which is not taking place close to Shillong and Guwahati as was in 1897. It can well take place much closer home, though at a lesser intensity. But as Morocco has example has shown you, even an earthquake of 6.9 M can cause havoc. For this NAPEX, today we are conducting a tabletop exercise in which I will be painting various scenarios that can arise during an earthquake, and we will be asking the various stakeholders at the state and district level to respond to these scenarios. How will they act? And this is to prepare them for the actual event, and also to prepare them for the mock exercise that is going to take place on 2nd. After today's exercise, we hope to cement our coordination between various agencies. We hope to be very clear amongst the various stakeholders as to what their responsibility is, and also if there are any gaps, we have tomorrow to prepare and address those gaps. The beauty of this NAPEX and this event is that it's a multi-stakeholder event which is adopting an all of the government and all of the society approach which is essential if we have to fight a major disaster successfully. So to that extent, it's not only the government of Nagaland, but it's the central agencies like the Armed Forces, the Central Armed Police Forces, National Center of Seismology, NEST, which is based in Johor. All these organizations are also participating both in the tabletop exercise as also in the mock exercise on the 2nd. On the 2nd, we will start off at 9 o'clock by simulating an earthquake, and thereafter we will progress the event in a manner in which actually the action should unfold in fighting the impact of an earthquake in an effective manner. So what is the role of various agencies? How do they get mobilized? How do the various disaster response elements come into action, starting from community response, thereafter by the SDRF, NDRF, the other uniformed forces, the medical aspects, the aspects of damage to factories and maybe to gas storage site of the IOCL, fires, landslides, which are all the secondary impacts of an earthquake. All these will be simulated and we will be acting. At the end of this exercise, the aim is to further improve our interagency coordination, our processes, and the manner in which we respond to a disaster in a very effective manner, and have clarity amongst the stakeholders on their various roles.
General is Bhal from NDMA. We have our Commissioner and Secretary NSDMA. We also have the representative of the District Disaster Management Authorities, the DC Kohima. We also have the convener inter-agency group, which is the NGO group, which we are trying to strengthen the local NGOs in the context of responding to disaster management. So people who are in the DICE are represented from different agencies. As Sir was saying, this is going to be a multi-response preparedness event.
Sir, I have one question. The Chief Secretary had pointed out a very good point while delivering his speech, which he mentioned about setting up of field hospitals in case of any major disaster, not just here in Kohima, Dimapur, the capital, but in the remote areas. So is the NSDMA prepared with such equipments for field hospital in case if there is any major disaster that takes place and that affects like even in the remote areas of our state?
Thank you. That's a very relevant question. To go back 2 years from now, or rather almost 3 years, during the COVID pandemic, our department was entrusted with such a task of bringing up a hospital near the referral hospital with the equipment for near the referral hospital Dimapur. And as rightly pointed out by Chief Secretary, the mobile unit of a hospital will be examining it. Thank you.
We have the acute care center at the referral hospital, which was built in 90 days. Yes, we are looking at now inflatable tent house that is on the way, which is coming in, and we are also looking at prefabbed hospital structures. We would only be able to provide the prefab structure, inflatable structure, but the equipments and other human resources will have to be sourced in from the Department of Health and Family Welfare. Yes, we are already in the process of working on that, so we should be having prefabbed, foldable and inflatable hospital structure.
Exercise for the last 6 years, 7 years now. So how well prepared is the state in case it really strikes such disasters?
Now, as General Bhan was saying, how strong, how prepared we are, we will not be able to really, face the challenges or the fury of the nature. Well, every year, this NAPEX has been a lesson for us. It's a new feather added to our wings. Last year, when we are looking at it, the BSF team were there trying to establish a communication network, and we could not establish. So, like BSF has a Sataka, they have a very good presence, so we are not even able to, establish immediately after the event how to establish the network. Now we hope that this year, the lessons learned from here, we are just talking with our Sir DIG from the Assam Rifle, that we will have to build our communication network, because it's not going to sync to the disaster management network, or nor to the police network. But if you have the paramilitary network established from our control room, then that could be one of the channels for us. So those are the lessons that we learned every year, and we are refining every year in terms of our, in terms of equipping or in terms of filling up the gaps. But to say that we are fully prepared to face any event of disasters may not be a very definite scientific answer to be given, because the fury of nature can never be measured by human minds.
Especially considering Kohima, the kind of constructions that are coming up, and the road-wise, the area-wise, the passages seems to be too small. And if such disaster falls, and for example, even if a fire breaks out, we see that the fire tenders are unable to reach on time also. So how do you think you can prepare yourself to face if it strikes in Kohima, especially, and how dangerous it is? And are you planning for any certain rules in construction under disaster?
Now, the government of Nagaland, the governor has already consented, and the fire safety bills is already in place. Now, it is the role and responsibilities of all the public in Nagaland to comply to that fire safety. It's not for the gain of the Department of Emergency Fire and Emergency Services, but it's for our safety. So therefore, as part of that Fire Safety Act, which has already been in place, now each one of us, whoever has built the house, will have to comply to fire safety norms. That's one. And I think it is high time that, especially in the context of Kohima, we need to learn the lessons. There has been many big fire events in the recent times, and that is an eye-opener for us to be complying to the fire safety norms and rules that has been notified by the government. Now, in the context of the structure, the Department of Urban Development, Municipal Affairs, is in charge of bringing out new Nagaland building bylaws. That is in the process of approving it, and once that new building bylaws is in place, the safety structural safety will be also in place. But for the old structures, now how do we do? Maybe for the old structures, some retrofitting technologies may have to rock in, and in the context of narrow lane or narrow road, which is existing here in Kohima, we will have to find a suitable means of bringing in maybe not a bigger truck, but maybe a smaller truck, maybe customized. I'm sure the Department of Fire and Emergency Services is really looking into that capabilities to respond to the fire safety or emergencies in the context of the Kohima, especially with the existing narrow lane. Yes.
There's a very important issue that comes up here, which I will request the media to highlight. Responsibility of fighting a disaster is not that of the government alone. It is equally your and mine responsibility as a citizen. Therefore, as a citizen, firstly I should be aware as to what I need to do to save myself as my family immediately in case of a disaster striking. Most of us are not aware. We always think that disaster will hit someone else, not us. So that mentality has to change. Secondly, if I know I am living in an earthquake-prone area, it is equally my responsibility to ensure that when I construct a house, it is earthquake-proof. It is my responsibility to ensure that I follow the rules and guidelines regarding development, regarding not encroaching in areas which are susceptible to flooding, etc., which is happening. And it is equally my responsibility to ensure that I follow the guidelines which have been provided by the government. So the problem about in disaster management is not only making rules, it is also in following these rules and in having and implementing. That is where we as responsible citizens have a very important role to play.